Hi, it's Jeff Chalmers here from discoverdouble-bass.com. That is the home of online video double bass lessons and courses. So if you want to learn the double bass, if you want to learn more about the double bass, that's the place for you to go. We've got a whole range of interviews, gear reviews, lessons, courses, and discussions like this one. And I'm joined today by one of the faculty, one of the tutors over at Discover Double Bass. It's the great Olivier Babaz. Welcome, Olivier.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. Hi.
Well, we've been having a great week here filming, and we've got a little bit of extra time, and I wanted to just discuss a few questions that have come in from the audience. And we've been talking this week about improvisation, so let's start with a question on improvisation. When you're creating bass lines, solos, are you thinking in terms of the chord changes? Are you thinking scales and arpeggios? Are you thinking just like a single melodic line? What's happening behind, what's happening inside when you're improvising bass line and solos?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, when I'm playing, for example, a jazz standard, first I'll make sure that I know the tune by heart instead of reading it. And in the process of learning that tune, generally I will have done a harmonic analysis of the tune. So basically, before I start playing the tune, I know the main shape of the tune, where are the points of tension in the chord and resolution in the chords. So basically I know the tune by heart, and so instead of seeing a separate chord change, I'm more envisioning general harmonic zones and the point where it modulates. So basically I'm more thinking about the structure of the tune and where the tension points are, instead of what each chord is. But I'm always keeping, of course, an eye on the harmony. So I know basically I'm thinking about the tonality, and I'm underlining the structure of the chord.
I mean, it might be a multiple approach, but do you think in terms of the numbers system, are you thinking 2, 5, 1, 4? You know, or are you thinking C minor, F dominant 7?
I'm really thinking about the tonalities themselves. So I'm thinking C minor going to F, F altered, and then B flat major in the case of a 2-5-1 in B major. So I'm really thinking each chord, because the sound and the feel of each chord changes a lot because of our instrument, which has open string, and yeah, I'm really seeing more each tonality instead of the degrees themselves.
And you were saying that there was like, I can't remember the language that you used, but you were talking about key moments in the chord progression as well, yes. Perhaps when there's a change of key?
Change of key are just tension and resolution points. So so for instance, I know that the 2 will bring a 5, which himself will bring a 1. So the tension point is growing from the 2 to the 5 altered, and then there's a resolution on the 1. I'm not thinking about it, but in the rhythmical cycle, and that comes back to the harmonic analysis, I have conscious when it's arriving.
And how about melodies? Do you learn the melody of every standard that you memorize as well? Is that a big part of what you do, or is that for someone else?
No. I learned a lot, and when it comes to jazz bowing, I learned a lot of bebop melodies. Of course, Charlie Parker, we talked about it in the jazz bowing course, but yeah, I learned a lot. The melodies on the bass, I learned them on other instruments as well. It's really cool to have other approaches. Of course, guitar is a cousin instrument to our bass, but learning them on the keyboard and learning to sing them in tune as well and accompanying you. I mean, I'm not doing that in shows, but I think it's a great way to learn a tune, just to sing the melody and be able to play basic bass line under it.
Yeah, I think absolutely that connection between the voice and what you're trying to play. And of course, if you're learning a melody by Jobim or whoever, you know, any of the classic kind of melodies, they're so perfectly put together. It feeds and informs your improvising. In terms of memorizing, obviously, it sounds like what you've been talking about here is a key part of the process is internalizing these standards. Do you have any kind of tips about how you might go about that? I mean, apart from just repetition, do you write them out maybe?
You mean to learn the tune?
Yeah.
I mean,
either the tune or the chord progression.
I mean, to memorize a tune, once again, I try to look at it from a wide point of view. I look at the chart and see the general structure. So is it AABA? Is that a blues? Is that a ABA or ABAC? So that's the first thing. Then does it have a regular bar numbers? Does it have extra bars somewhere? And then basically I learn, okay, where are the 1, where are the 5, and where are the modulation points? And from there I reconstruct in my mind the chord changes. I mean, I don't reconstruct, but I kind of understand why there's a 6 after a 1, and a 2 after a 6, and a 5 after a 2, and a 1 after a 5. So it's kind of a harmonic analysis on the spot, but it's very natural because a lot of standards come from the same era, so you kind of have the same kind of composition frameworks.
Yeah, you start to see so much repetition, don't you? And you recognize the movement of chords happening all over the place, and you see these different relationships between standards and composers.
Sure, it's very, but there's with that approach, we might be careful not to forget the subtleties of the chords, because the melodies are not just 1 going to 6, going to 2, going to 5, and going to maybe 1. It's as well underlining the melody key harmonic points. So that's why not forgetting that, oh, the 6th chord might be 7 or might even be 13th. Why? Because in the melody you have the 13th degree, and it's particularly tasty to have it here, and then you get a descending voicing going to the 2. All these kinds of mini details are really important, and when we have a kind of analysis approach to tunes, sometimes we can leave a bit of that of those details out. So really paying care and taking care with the melody is a great way as well to have harmonic subtleties that we wouldn't think about when we would have a more analytical approach to a tune.
Excellent. Well, it's been really interesting talking to you about this topic, Olivier. It's definitely something that I wish I knew more standards. And I've got my real book with me, and the amount of times that I go to a gig and I have to keep opening the real book, and by now I should know these tunes. I've played them so many times, so it's really interesting, and I've definitely enjoyed hearing about your approach for improvisation as well. And if you want to learn more from Olivier, please go and check out all of the other videos that we have over at Discover Double Bass, including a full-length course on improvisation called The Creative Improviser. So thanks so much for watching, and Olivier, thanks for joining me today.
1, 2.